Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, so my name is Sam Melehy, and I'm going to be talking to you about enabling DevOps with process integration in IT. But first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. First, the name is actually very unusual. It's a very uncommon name. I'm actually the only Sam Melehy in the Western Hemisphere that I can find. It's an Arabic name. And if you Google me, you'll find all sorts of things about what I've done. There's also a skydiving video I did for my 50th birthday where the instructor strapped a GoPro on their wrist, so you'll see that. And hopefully you can't read lips, but it was an interesting experience. So my career has been really in selling and delivering technology solutions to IT operations and IT organizations of the Global 5,000. I've lived on both sides of the ocean. I lived in London for 3 years, and I ran the technology services for a major software company. And so I've seen a lot of IT operations. Mainly my specialties have been delivering solutions around automation, around monitoring, around application development and testing. And what I want to talk to you about today is really about the world beyond OpenStack and how do you evolve OpenStack inside an IT organization and really integrate it into the existing processes. So these kind of talks are best as interactive. If you have questions, just let me know, get my attention. Comments are welcome. So I really enjoy the two-way interaction. So first thing is DevOps. And many people think of DevOps as really implementation, which is fine, but their definition is the implementation of a config management and application orchestration tool like Chef or Puppet or Ansible. But I think what people forget sometimes is that if you go back to the original idea of DevOps, the original idea of DevOps was to get application development and IT operations to work together. And in my experience, in looking at these organizations across the world, you find that most of the time those two organizations not only don't work together, they don't even like each other. And they don't talk. And they are, if you ask the application development folks, they'll tell you that IT operations or the IT service desk doesn't like to get involved in anything. All they do is complain about everything, about how they don't want to get involved, and they complain about it after the fact. If you ask IT operations and the service desk, they'll tell you that application development just throws stuff over the fence and wants them to be their QA and doesn't tell them about anything that they're doing. And so the symptoms, what you get there is that shows up in the Monday morning call storms where an application upgrade happened over the weekend and nobody told the IT service desk, right? And I see you're nodding, so I'm at least hitting a note. So you get things like production changes are made with application upgrades. The help desk doesn't know about it. You get increased downtimes as a result. You get SLAs that get missed, and you get finger pointing back and forth, right? This is what happens in DevOps. And so from our point of view, we think that getting those groups to work together is essential to success. But one of the ways you can do that is by automating the integration of those processes. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we do that. So the first thing is implementation of OpenStack is an essential first step in this journey. And once you implement storage and compute and networking, and you've got the automation down for where you can provision and manage the life cycle of your infrastructure, customers are saying, now what? So there's one customer that we're working with right now, and we just finished the first implementation of OpenStack. And their business case was that they are acquiring a lot of companies. And when they acquire a new company, what they do is they send out their people, their technical people, and do a physical inventory of the network and the storage and the compute and the applications, right? It's very resource intensive. And so the business case is that they want to use OpenStack to help them do that quicker and with less people. So they want to take in the target network of an acquired company and use it and take it in as a tenant network inside OpenStack, and then be able to manage it with a cloud management platform and kind of analyze which workloads should be coming over to OpenStack and really quicken the process, right? So that's a great business case. But that's great to have that capability, but now what, right? So now you've got the infrastructure down. Now you have to start thinking about the workloads and how do you move applications in and out of that environment, and you have to start to think about orchestration, configuration management. That's when you start to think about tools like Puppet or Chef or Ansible. There's other products like Cloudify that are doing application orchestration. So that's the next step, really, is trying to figure that out. And once you do that, you start to think about the life cycle of the application. How does the application find its way? Somebody has to make a request to that application, and somebody has to take care of that application after it's in production, right? So the logical third step in that is how do you integrate that? Now you've got automated infrastructure, you've got automated application. Now how do you integrate that into your IT organization, right? Into your IT operations. And that's where the process integration comes in and is so critical. All right, so IT service management, a little background here, first of all, is before 1989, IT service delivery, the way IT service delivery was done, and that's really IT or support organizations delivering service to their end customers, people inside companies that are using technology. It was done in a chaotic way, in a completely chaotic way, and no standards, no nothing, right? People would call it, even nomenclature, work orders versus tickets versus incidents versus problems. Nobody had any standard way that they delivered IT service, never mind a nomenclature. And so ITIL, the IT Infrastructure Library, was born in the UK, from the UK government. And basically what it did was it standardized how IT services delivered, and it started to become adopted in a big way in the 90s and 2000s. And as you can see there, they've identified and they've addressed all aspects, right, including the service strategy, which is how the IT organization is going to deliver in what ways, what's going to be important to them. The service design, how do they design the processes and the services by which they maximize their effectiveness and their productivity and their customer sat. And then this transition, how do they transition their organizations. The operations is how do you manage it in an operational environment, and continual service improvement. So they've addressed everything, but the way things go is people don't really pay attention to all that. I mean, that's all great. It's really good to understand how to deliver IT service and look at the strategy and design. But there are several key processes that are always implemented, or in probably 90% of the ITIL implementations out there in the world, and I've seen many, they go with 5 different disciplines. And really, it's really 4, but it's essentially 4 core ones, right? So the first is service request, right? And that is the process by which an IT user requests something from IT, right? I need a new laptop. I need to provision an application. I need access to email. I need access to SAP. I need an instance of SAP. It's how they request things. The idea is that it serves as the main interaction point between IT and its customers. So the next one is change management. And ITIL says that you have to have an audit trail when you change your production environment, right? So everybody knows the Monday morning syndrome. You come in, something's not working, right? What's the first question? What changed? What changed? And so ITIL says you have to maintain a change audit log of everything in your production environment that's changed. And you have to go through an approval process and a controlled process by which you can. So great example. The Southwest Airlines, I think it was Delta, right? They had an outage. It cost them 3 days, millions and millions of dollars. Now they were very quiet about it, but I can guarantee you that somebody didn't follow their change control procedures, right? Because one of the things they have to have is a backout process. So that's the kind of thing that happens when dev and application development and operations are not integrated. All right, so the next one is incident management. And when things go wrong, they're unpredictable, they call it an incident. And for the first time, everybody calls it the same thing. And it has very specific processes by which it's delivered. So categorization, assignment of resource, escalation procedures, all of that is standardized throughout ITIL. So the next one is configuration management. And this is a different context of configuration management than most people in this room are probably used to. Right? It's not the management of configuration of a technology solution as you're deploying it. What this is a source of record that maps IT services to the infrastructure on which they run. So an IT service might be email, and the CMDB, the configuration management database, will map the email servers, any databases, storage, networking, all the connectivity that's underneath that email service. Or it could be SAP, or it could be some sort of application. But the idea is that the IT service desk has to keep that, because when something goes out like a router, now they can do impact analysis and see who's affected. So all of this is leading up to how I'm going to explain how these things are important in terms of integration. And then the last one is problem management. So problem management in ITIL says that when you have a repeatable or an incident that happens over and over again, that you set somebody aside to look at the root cause, right? So you have a router failure that happens repeatedly. So you want to set somebody aside to go analyze the root cause and solve that root cause. And that's a very specific discipline. So those are the 5 main processes that are implemented in terms of ITIL and IT service management. Now, what happens when you integrate IT service management and automated application deployment, right? There's certain things that happen. Not only do you get increased communication between the two groups, but you can actually achieve tremendous reduction in mean time to repair. You can improve the speed by which IT delivers service, and you can reduce your cost, and you can dramatically increase your productivity. So here's a use case. So let's say that you've got an automated provisioning of a complex N-tier application. And in that, you want to provision compute, the network policies, you want to provision storage, a database, a web server, web app server, app load balancer, the application, you want to configure the application, and you're done. But let's say, and that is both application orchestration and infrastructure orchestration, right? So you've got OpenStack in there and probably a config management tool doing that. And so let's say, for example, your web app server deployment fails in your automation, and you want to have typically some remediation procedure built into your automation, whether you try to reinstall that web app server or whether you try to back out that web app server, maybe install something else. But you also want to have a failure mode, right, where if you can't fix it with that automation, you want to back it out. Maybe you want to back out everything you've done up until that point. But the idea is that now you want to open an incident inside a service management tool. So the help desk knows that actually that you've got a production problem. You've got something that you tried to do in production and you can't. So when you deploy automation to do that, not only can you open the incident and assign a technician very quickly with no human interaction, but you can also use automation and orchestration to interrogate the environment and include that in the incident. So the help desk can pick it up, and the technician already has an hour or two's worth of information that that has been collected that helps them solve the problem faster. So if you're successful, let's say you're successful in that scenario, then you want to open the change request and close the change request. So you have the ITIL auditability, right? Remember that? And you want to update the CMDB, so now you know that you've installed that app or that service into the environment, and the IT help desk now can know that that service is available, and they can know that all the infrastructure upon which it runs. So if somebody calls in and says, hey, I've got a problem with this, they know now instantly what it looks like and what it's connected to. All right, so another use case is auto scaling. So if you have a governance policy on an application that says if web traffic goes above a certain threshold, you provision new app servers or storage or whatever it might be per the policy. you can now open a change request, close a change request, and update the CMDB, right? So you've changed the production environment, and you want to log that, right? Now you might ask, okay, why would I want to do that? Because as soon as something goes wrong, the help desk is going to have to deal with it, and they want to know what's connected to what, when it went in, and what changed. All right, so key touch points here. I'll just spend a couple minutes on this is, so the service catalog, remember we were talking about service request as part of ITIL, and the service catalog is how IT defines all the services that they deliver to their customers, right? So they like to put them in a catalog because, A, there's no confusion over what IT is supposed to do. IT gets beat up a lot over lack of service, right? So they want to make sure that they've broadcast to the company what they actually do and what they don't do. So they put it in a catalog, and that way they can have people request from the catalog, but not only that, but they can measure the back-end performance of fulfilling the orders of that catalog, right? So it's really important. So creating of an incident is when something goes wrong. We've already covered that. Change request, we've covered that. And then CMDB sync. So having said all that, I want to tell you about what we've built to solve this problem. In addition to consulting and expertise to get people to understand this problem and how to solve it organizationally and technologically, we've built a few things that help that process along. So in this scenario, for example, you have an IT service management solution on the left side, and the user requests provisioning of an app, for example, from a service catalog. And inside that service request, it punches out to, say, OpenStack to say provision the storage and compute and networking. And then it punches out to an application an application orchestration tool that might have a blueprint that has a definition of that application that is deployed on whatever. It might be part on OpenStack, part on AWS, or all on OpenStack, part on VMware. It doesn't matter, but it punches out to that, and it goes through the transactions that I was explaining earlier, in that when it finishes a deployment, it opens a change request inside the service management tool. It updates the configuration management database so the help desk knows what it is and what it's connected to, and then it continues on. And then it processes failure with incidents the same way I was just explaining. So this is a specific instance of what we have built to facilitate that. And this is ServiceNow. You're probably all familiar with ServiceNow. It's got 40% of the marketplace in terms of IT service management. But there are other tools out there, right? There are enterprise tools like BMC and HP. There are smaller tools like Heat and some others, and Surewell out there. We've started with ServiceNow because they've got the majority of the marketplace. And so what we've done is we've worked with an application orchestration tool called Cloudify, which is an open source tool that's used for heavy-duty, complex N-tier application orchestration and also VNF. And so there's a plugin that we've built to ServiceNow that takes care of the workflows. So requesting a service, we can fulfill that service and update the CMDB on success, open up incidents with respect to failures, and then update the CMDB. And what we have is, I'll go back. So if you look on the lower right of that screen right there, that is an actual CMDB visualization that ServiceNow has, right? So you can see any sort of, ITIL calls it a CI, a configuration item, but you can see any sort of entity that's out there, which would be a business service. It has all the connectivity underlying that is connected. That might be a server, it might be storage, it might be a network segment. So we actually will update all of that, and so the help desk can visualize that in the CMDB. All right, so just to conclude, so OpenStack is just the beginning, right? It's a great foundation, but as soon as you get to that point where OpenStack is implemented, the question is now what? What about my workloads? And once the workloads are done and they're automated to a certain degree, then it's, okay, what now? How do I integrate that into my organization, my IT operations organization, so I can truly achieve DevOps and I can get application development working with operations, at least get them more communicated, more tightly integrated. I would tell you that you really can't realize the entire ROI that's possible unless you get to that stage. You can, in terms of cloud migration and automation, I would argue that you can't achieve the ROI that you could achieve without integrating those processes. All right, any questions? Comments? Just show of hands, how many people have worked with ServiceNow? Yeah, there you go, okay. Folks familiar with ITIL? Okay, good, good. All right, if there are no questions, then thank you very much.